Okay, so let's get started. First, we're going to talk about inputs and outputs. This is our kitchen. We have to have every ingredient come into the kitchen and everything has to go out on a plate. That's what that output data set means. All the ingredients have to, even though we cook them, they have to go out in a box, on a plate, whatever, through an output. So what I'd like you to do, I'd like you to go to input data set first, put it right here in the top left corner, hit choose data set, and I'd like you to go choose one of the data sets that we brought in originally. So I'm going to choose this one, the Google Sheets one. And there we go. Hey, if I need to see this a little bit bigger, well, that's where I can hit this plus sign right by the 100 to make it a little bit easier for me. Now, nothing will run here because we don't have an output. So I'm going to go to output data set if I need to, hook it up, hit the little circle to the little triangle. And now this is still grayed out because we have no name for the output. So what we're going to do is we're going to take actually the name of the ETL, copy, and put it right as the same name. Okay. Now all we've done nothing. We've just taken an item, put it in our kitchen, and just put it right on a plate. Nothing has been done to it. So if you're ever wondering, when do I put something in the ETL, when do I not? If you don't need to manipulate it or change it in any way, you don't need to do this. But if you do have to do any type of manipulation, transformation, joining, combining, you do want to put it into the kitchen. Make sense? Okay. On the top right-hand corner, there's a save. If I save it, nothing has happened. Nothing has run. You need to hit the drop down and say save and run. I'm not going to do that because every time we run an ETL, we burn a credit based on the number of outputs we have here. So if I have another output here, and I run this, that would be 2 credits, right? If I put another one, that's 3 credits. Makes sense? Makes sense? Pretty easy. Okay, another thing I want to show you before we get moving on doing some actual work is check this out. If I click this input, I have these things right here. What is this stuff? Well, details tells me, and if I hover over here and just drag this up like a trombone, it tells me here are the different columns that you have that are numbers. Here are the columns that you have that are text, and here are the columns that you have that are dates. Okay, great, good to know. If I hit data, I can actually see it. I can say, okay, this is my real data. Got it. And if I hit notes, this is really good. I like this feature a lot. I can write a note in here. So I can say sample data, whatever I want. And look, boom, I got a little sticky note. And that little note is like Hansel and Gretel. It's like breadcrumbs. So now if I ever go back to an ETL or if another person is picking mine up, they can kind of see what's happening. I can leave little notes so they know what's happening. They're not as lost. I think it's a very cool feature. One more thing I want to show you on the inputs. If I click this input, let's go to configuration. I'd like you to go to data handling. Here we can see all the different columns we have here. And on the right, this tells you what type it is. So date is a date. What if I don't need date to be a date? What if I just need it to be a text? And we'll go over why you might want that later eventually. But what if I want it to be a text? Well, I can go here and say, make it a text. Similarly, if I have dates and they're labeled as text for some reason, and I want it to be a date, I'll just go back and say, go make it a date. I can do it here, and there's another area that we can do it. Okay. Also, let me make sure you understand this. A column of values, it has to be the same. So what I mean by that is, let's say you have zip codes as one column and you have numbers like 60622, 60640, whatever. If you have one little letter in it, 60622A, what that has done, that little A has changed the entire column from a number into text. So you really got to make sure that your data is clean. And that's the whole point of the ETL. Make sense? If you cook it all, you know that if you drop 1 drop of water in a pot of melted chocolate, it ruins everything. What happens is that the water reacts with chocolate, it binds, and then that means that that chocolate is kind of unstable and it keeps binding and it makes everything clumpy. So we don't want to do that. But that's just how we can kind of control for the different formats of data that we have. All right, let's get into it. Let's do some work.